Welcome everyone to our Tuesday night Corinda Community Connections. Lovely to have you all. I'm Kelly Wilkins, your host, and it's so good to be with you on this Tuesday, the 14th of March. Tonight we have a special guest with us, Paul Angwin from True Colours Organics, and he's going to be taking us through the magic of microgreens. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, and welcome to everybody else. Nice to see you. Thank you, Kelly.
Well, before we get started, we're going to just share with you a little bit of update on our news and what's happening, some announcements. So this weekend, we have the DIY motor mechanics course at Mulgoa at the Blue Mountains, and the wonderful Grain will be leading that. He runs a most excellent course, and what you learn there is absolutely superb, because you will either know how to do it yourself, or you'll know not to get ripped off when next time you take it to the mechanics. So it's level 1, covers all the basics. He also offers a level 2 and level 3 program, so you can get deeper into knowing all about your car and how to fix it and all those good things. So
Saturday?
That's this Saturday, yes. So we're looking forward to that. Then the following Saturday, we are going to run that course again. So anyone who can't make the 18th will be able to catch it again on the 1st of April. Also a Saturday. Yes.
Oh, I work Saturday.
And then we will have another fruit canning. We had a very successful fruit canning class last Saturday. The next one will be on the 17th of April, which is so super exciting. That's a Monday. For anyone who can't make the weekends, you can jump in on the Monday. So we do try to make it accessible where we can. So without further ado, plus what we're all getting excited about is the expo on the 29th of April. And Paul is going to be one of our demonstrators at the expo. So whatever questions that you have, if you want to see it all in person, you'll be able to see Paul at the expo. Plus, on the website, if you go to myselfreliance.com.au, if you get inspired by what Paul shares with us tonight, you can also jump into any of his classes held on a Wednesday and a Sunday. So check those dates on the website as well. So welcome, Paul.
Great, welcome. I keep saying welcome when you say welcome. Thanks a lot, Kelly. Hi, how are you?
Excellent. So good to have you with us.
Yeah.
And so just to introduce Paul a little bit, I actually was able to go out last week and experience one of Paul's workshops. And not only do you learn how to grow your own microgreens, but you also learn how to build it into a smoothie or into a dinner. I took along my 12-year-old son, and not sure how he would go with it all.
Yeah.
Because he's, quite picky, I suppose. And when the microgreens were put in front of him, he just munched them, just would not stop eating them, would he, Paul?
Yeah, he had a great time.
He had a great time. So if that's not recommendation enough, I'm going to hand you over, Paul, and you can take it away, share your screen, do whatever you need to do, and take us through all about the magic of microgreens.
Great. Thanks very much, Kelly. Well, we're True Colours Organics, and my wife and I set up this business a while ago when we went into organic vegetable farming. And that was just out your way, Kelly, in Londonderry. We had 2 hectares out there, and what we wanted to go through tonight is the transition from organic vegetable farming to microgreens. And some of the reasons we did that were space considerations, nutrition, and self-reliance. so we can grow our own. This is us on our property. It was pretty hot that when this photo was taken, but you can see all the greens in the background. We had, as I said, 2 hectares under field and a greenhouse growing tomatoes and cucumbers. And everything we grew, we sold. And we just got used to having this sort of fresh veggies available on tap. And it was a remarkable experience for us. But when that ended, we moved back to the city. We were here in Sydney the whole time anyway. But we moved back home and wanted to continue growing our own vegetables. And that's when we started to get interested in microgreens. And I guess the issue was first and foremost space considerations. But more and more so, we wanted to look at how to maximize flavor in vegetables and maximum nutrition, and microgreens really fit that bill. So we started playing around with that, and before we knew it, we had a grow room up and running, and we had customers, and it was all very exciting. So I guess for tonight's presentation, we've had a lot of people come to us to say, well, how can we do it at home ourselves? How can we do a small production that we can support our family, or is there a larger application in a commercial sense? So we realized that with microgreens, it's a very compact process. We grow microgreens on trays that are 30 centimeters by 60 centimeters, which is quite large by home standards. But you're growing a little forest of vegetables, and they've got a very short grow cycle. So they grow in 7 to 14 days, and then you harvest. And so you've got time to do many. You can have cycles growing all the time. So you've constantly got fresh microgreens. It doesn't take up much space. We ended up buying a little flat pack greenhouse, which is in the backyard, and that works really well. So we can keep everything contained into one room. What are microgreens? It's a fairly new concept. I mean, they've been around since the 90s, and they started in California. But to try and define them really sets the scene for microgreens and what they are and why they're so interesting. And to look at that, we need to look at the plant life cycle. So we take a seed, and you moisten that seed in a fairly warm temperature, which signals to the seed that there may be an opportunity for it to grow in that space. And so they sprout. And so you've heard the term of sprouts, whether it's mung bean sprouts or alfalfa, and these grow in water. They don't grow in a soil or grow medium. So they simply the seed breaks when a root shoots out, and it sends out what they call a cotyledon, which is the first leaf, and then that happens within probably 2 or 3 days of the seed being moistened, and that's called a sprout. What we do is we sprout the seeds in a grow medium, and we use like a potting mix of soil, and that allows the roots to go into the soil and then make the plant stand up. And when it does that, the cotyledons reach up looking for light, and that is the first stage of a plant growth. So it's when they stand up and they look for light. Now, a lot of things happen in the germination stage and into this microgreen stage, because the plant is still being fed by the energy stored in the seed. And then as soon as the leaf, the cotyledon, the new leaves, as soon as they see light, they start photosynthesizing that light, and they start to create their own nutrients. And in the whole plant life cycle, this microgreen stage is when there's the most nutrition, active enzymes, the production of vitamins. It's the highest rate per gram of the plant than in any other stage of the plant life cycle. So sprouts are healthy for you. Microgreens can be a little bit more, or several times more healthy, until they turn into a seedling, and then the plant starts to be self-sufficient, and it sends out more leaves, and it starts to create its own food. A seedling then turns into the adult plant, as you see in this life cycle. It then flowers, and it goes through its fruition, and it creates its seeds. The seed pods then dry and drop, usually onto the ground, and the process will restart once the conditions are right for it to grow again. So so in the diagram, you have the little sprout with the word cotyledon written on it, and you have the seedling stage next. Well, microgreens are right there in the center part of that cycle. Make sense? So,
yeah, perfectly.
Great. So what we've done is I've shown our trays. These are the 30 by 60 trays. And in this tray, we've got white radish or daikon seeds, and we top water them. We use a spray bottle to moisten the soil and the seeds. And then a couple of days later, they start sprouting. And it's very important that when they germinate, that they should germinate in the dark. And you can see they've sprouted, and they're a yellow color, and they've sent roots down through the soil. And so we switch from watering on the top with a spray bottle to watering in the drip tray underneath the grow tray, which is the wicking system of watering. It's very important to transition at that point. So so you don't promote the growth of mold and mildew in the topsoil. So here we have, we start with the seeds, we moisten them. 2 or 3 days later, they germinate, and they start to, or they sprout and germinate. And then a couple of days, oh, I've gone the wrong direction. A couple of days later, here they are. We've got them out in the light. We don't use the top spray bottle anymore. We use the watering can to water the soil underneath the soil, and so we have the first stage of the microgreens growing right there. If we were to let them grow, and sometimes we do transplant them, we've taken those white radish and we've put them into soil, and they grow their second round of leaves, and they turn into seedlings. So here we have seedlings in front of us. So we've got, we research microgreens to find out what are the most flavorsome, what are the most nutritious. And we've come to this, we came to the top 3, namely broccoli, cabbage, and radish. We also grow quite a lot of kale, my personal favorite. So I've included kale in our top 4 that we grow here. We have about 20 varieties of seeds that we use regularly, but these are certainly the leaders, the top 4 that we grow. So we'll take it from the top. The broccoli has a flavor profile. It's a mild flavor, sort of a greenish, grassy flavor, and it's quite buttery. It's got a lovely sort of softness to it. They're very high in vitamins A, B, C, E, and K. Very high in the polyphenols and sulforaphane, which fights cancer, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. If we work our way along this table, we can see that to plant out a tray of seeds, it's usually about 30 grams of seeds for most of these varieties. It's the wholesale cost is about $5 per tray for the seeds. The grow time is 8 to 12 days. It's a bit hidden on my in my presentation but I think it's about 8 to 10 days. So with cabbage, it's got a vegetal taste to it. That sort of cabbagey taste you may be familiar with when you eat coleslaw, and it has this medium acidity. It's got a lovely vegetal acid sort of bite to it. It's delicious. Also very high in vitamins. The cabbage has a anti-inflammatory, immunity boosting, and gut health health benefits that fight asthma, Parkinson's disease, diabetes, and hypertension. The seeds are a bit more expensive, but not that much more. They take a little bit longer to grow, 12 to 14 days. So then we have radish, white radish, also called daikon. And this is like a spicy, hot flavor. It's kind of almost like wasabi. It kind of gets up in your nose, and it's really, really terrific when you. It's a great garnish for food. It's a great greens to spice up a salad. Really wonderful. It has 6 times the magnesium of its mature counterpart. Also with vitamins A, B, C, E, and K, great for cardiovascular, fighting cancer, and for Alzheimer's. The last one on the list is kale that I have. Kale, like the kale that you buy in the health food store, or has this kind of bitterness to it. It's got a very strong grassy bitter flavor, and when you mix that in with broccoli, it has a lovely it has a lovely base note to it. It's a really great microgreen because it's quite rich, very high in zinc, copper, phenolics, and glucosinolate, which are also great for fighting cancer and improving heart function. So the cost of the seeds all average about $5 per tray. The grow times vary from 1 week to 2 weeks. Any questions on the variety, flavor, and health benefits?
I have a question.
Yes, Kay.
Do you source organic seeds, or where do you get your seeds? Or did you already talk about that?
No, I haven't yet. It's a great question. So with organic seeds, there are such a thing exists. However, it's not easy to buy organic all the time, and they're much more expensive. What we do is we always source from what we call non-GMO seeds that have been open pollinated and are untreated. So they're just raw seeds that have been it's gone through they're just natural seeds. We were with NASA certified organic for our microgreens, and they can accept that we can't always source organic seeds, and so as long as they are certified non-GMO, open pollinated, then that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So where do you get your seeds from?
A variety of places, to be honest. We used to buy seeds wholesale when we were farming, and we've just kept in contact with the suppliers. There's a short list. We go to Ace Olson. They have a seed division, which is a big sort of agricultural hardware. We've gone through Charlcon. More recently, we've been buying from Australian wheatgrass, which is, are they Queensland or Victoria? And they've actually got pretty keen prices, and you don't need to have a company to, you don't need to be a farmer to buy from them, which is quite helpful for the average person, you know, who the avid microgreen grower, if you like, and their prices are pretty keen. So Australian wheatgrass would be where I'd direct you at this point.
Thank you.
They actually local. They're actually in Riverstone in Sydney, Australian wheatgrass.
Yeah, I had to get them shipped from Victoria, so I've got a feeling they're in every state. And but the bulk seeds came from Victoria. So, but I have seen them around elsewhere. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yep, sure.
Do you know if I think it's with kale and some other greens that if you have too much of them raw, I think it's the oxalates or something in them, it's no good for you. Is that the same with microgreens, or doesn't have that problem?
Okay. I'll need to look up oxalates.
Oxalic acid. It's the
Oh, yeah.
up in the joints of oxalic acid. Yeah, I've
I
heard
see.
that too. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I guess a question is how much is too much microgreens? So if you were to eat 200 grams of broccoli, it would probably be a fairly large floret. If you were to eat 200 grams of broccoli microgreens, or the same for kale, it would be a fairly large bowl. So because they're so nutrient dense, you end up not eating too many because it's a large portion. And so to answer your question, would more than 200 grams of kale a day be harmful? I couldn't say. I don't think so. Yeah.
I think my first thought with those kinds of things is that your body tells you when you've had enough, and it's kind of hard to overdose on those kinds of foods. Like it's easy to overdose on chocolate, but it's harder to overdose on greens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
So-
about to say that, Kelly. Sorry to interrupt, Paul.
Not
Yeah.
at all. So I eat 2 fairly large portions every day, and I can go back for more. So it's not, for me, it's not, I haven't actually hit that too much stage yet. So, but interesting proposition. I should check into that.
Mm.
Okay, so I'm going to now to recipes. Oh, we go straight into it. Just going to make sure that's correct. So the simple rule we adopt when to use microgreens is that you can substitute them for when you would use the mature vegetable. So for salads, for flavor garnish, for sides, if you use broccoli, then you use the microgreens instead. But for things like smoothies, we do a smoothie on arrival at our workshop for all participants, and we always like to use fruit to blend with that. So the seasonal fruit right now are pears and grapes. So we use some coconut water with pears, grapes, and broccoli microgreens, and they just go so well together. For things like salads, we mix it up. In fact, let's go to our next. So here's a shot of our workshops where we taste. We have a tasting section towards the end, and you'll see the 3 boxes in front of you. And the one on the top is broccoli. On the right-hand side is red cabbage, and on the left-hand side is the kale. And we taste them raw. We then use like a salad dressing or vinaigrette. We then put raw nuts out, mix up some cheeses. We use halloumi cheese or tofu, tempeh, to create a salad. And for us, the idea that actually every household has their own salad dressing, one that they use all the time, that was grandmother's recipe or whatever. When we grow our own microgreens, we have a mixed green salad every day. So for us, it's more about changing it up with creating a salad dressing. My wife Seiko loves to ferment organic garlic or chilies in apple cider vinegar to make a base. We can then add some citrus like lime juice or yuzu, or even sweeten it up with some mirin or soy sauce. And we often use olive oil, or sesame oil is a good one, or even avocado oil. And what you end up doing is creating all these different salad dressings, which really complement the microgreens. So it's really fun to do that. We just work through here. We have covered everything off. I guess one other thing we've done recently is we've dehydrated microgreens. So the shelf life of the greens, they grow over a week or two, and usually you can start harvesting them from the tray to the table directly over a 5-day period. When they get a bit too big, you can cut them and then keep them in the storage containers that you'll see in the picture here, and they stay fresh in the fridge for an extra 3 to 5 days. When we've had when we haven't all been home to eat microgreens, we get some excess. We had some excess sweet pea microgreens and some broccoli recently, so we dehydrated them, and you can crush them up into a powder, and the powder is really great to add to smoothies, to sprinkle on soups and things like that. But you extend the shelf life by an extra at least 4 weeks when you dehydrate them. So it's also quite a boon for you. So the regular workshops we hold them the second Wednesday and the fourth Sunday of every month. And we deep dive into the materials and the processes that we use. So it's a learn by doing exercise where you walk through the whole process, you plant a tray, you apply the seeds, you're aware, you get involved in the watering processes, which is very important. You then harvest microgreens, you cut them and serve them. We also we go through how much it costs for a family of 4. You know, we go through at least 2 full trays a week, and that comes in at about $10 to $12 a week in the raw product cost of the soil and the seeds. So it can be quite cost effective. Just some photos when we do the daytime on the Sundays. We go outside and it starts showing seeds, where they come from, what they look like, the grow trays, the watering styles that we use. We always pick things from the garden. I can see tomatoes and cucumbers there from the garden. We just pick things as we go and we graze around. And here's a shot of the greenhouse and the grow trays growing. You'll see kale in the front, then white radish, then the broccoli behind that, and the sweet peas right at the back. That pretty much concludes the presentation, and we can open it up for Q&A.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Paul. That was wonderful. Now, you talked about your top 4, but there's so many more that you have. Can you just read through some of the others that, and I'll get you to either go back to one of the pictures that you had, or you can stop share, whichever way, and then we can open it up. So yeah.
I like this picture. Okay, yeah, sure. I've got a so we have the workbook that you get through the workshop, and I'll quickly go to the page. We've got a more comprehensive list. So we do the broccoli, cabbage, radish, kale, snow peas, rocket, green Mizuno, which is mustard. We do the red leaf beetroot, which are really magenta red stemmed with brilliant green leaves. They're very striking looking, really rich earthy flavor to terrific microgreen. We do spinach, sunflower, corn, dandelion, and shiso, which is a green perilla, fenugreek, mung beans, and so on.
Yeah, beautiful variety there. I was like, oh, which one will I get next? Tick it off my list and made a nice little shopping list for myself.
Lovely. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. So, and those beautiful snow peas that you can see at the back, that's what my son was hoeing into and just loving eating those, as well as all the broccoli greens and the smoothies. Yeah, just what kept coming back for them. So, how good is it when your kids just love to eat greens? It's like, yeah, he couldn't rave enough about it. So
I was
loving
impressed with Zach. He was just trying everything, and he seemed to be enjoying most everything he put in his mouth. So that was wonderful.
It's a credit to what you do.
Yeah.
So, Paul, I'll get you to stop share there, and we can see everyone in the room. And if anyone's, I'll go back to gallery view. If anyone wants to ask questions, there we all are. Yeah, you can feel free to come off mute and ask away.
I've got a question, if that's all right.
Thanks,
Sure,
Kay.
okay.
Sorry, I'm always full of questions.
Yeah.
Very annoying.
So good.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, when you buy the seeds, like, what quantities do Wheatgrass Australia sell them in? Like, is it low or?
Yeah, it's a good question. Sometimes they stipulate, and I don't have. Sometimes they ask for 0.5 kilogram minimum.
Right.
We normally buy 2 kilogram lots when we do buy them, and so we have them on hand. Yeah, wheatgrass do allow lesser. Most wholesalers would ask for at least 1 kilo.
Because then you've got the problem of storing it, and then, you know, like if you haven't got, you know, enough room for storage, it can be an issue. And I just wondered, like, suppose you what, store it in glass jars or something, or in the dark, or?
They come in a large Ziploc bag. What are those bags called from that 3 weeks ago from your course, Kelly?
The Myla bags.
The Myla bags. That's right.
Mm.
So they come in those large bags. We then keep them sealed. It's very important. Keep them dry. We keep them in big plastic tubs in the shed, and they're just fine.
So if you come along to Paul's workshop, you can pick up smaller bunches of the seeds there, and so you don't have to try and get the big bags.
In fact, if you use Kelly's code on her website to book, then you get complimentary seeds on arrival. So that's one to know.
And what's that code again, Paul?
Oh gosh, you got me. I think it's MSR for my self-reliance 01.
01.
Yeah.
Yeah, MSR 01.
Yeah.
And so you can go on to True Colors Organics and book your workshop there if it's .com. If it's too difficult to find that one and you're already on my page, you can actually register your spot on any of Paul's workshops on my page, and either way you'll be able to pick up that free packet of seeds when you go to the workshop.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yes, dandelion microgreens. How's that?
Wow.
Yes, gotta have the dandelion.
So for anti-inflammatories, they are par excellence. So very bitter, very interesting flavor, and delicious. So if you have like creaky knuckles, then you need some dandelion microgreens into you. Really wonderful.
Well, dandelion's good for the liver too. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I just wondered too, Paul. Do you ever grow like things into a mature adult plant and propagate your own seeds, or is it?
We have done. Yes, we have done. We've grown coriander and parsley, and because they just go, they can take over if you're not careful.
Oh, true. Yeah.
And we've had like 2 or 3 big plants that have gone to seed, and we've harvested probably about 0.5 kilogram from each of those episodes. So really good to have real natural raw seeds in the seed bin. Yeah,
that's great. And do you, when you collect seeds, do you just put a plastic bag over the top and then just let the seeds, like chop the branch and then let the seeds fall into the bottom of the bag? Is that sort of process you?
That's right. You cut the trunk and invert it so that it dries. The seeds won't drop immediately. So to have the airflow around the upended bush is important to dry it all through. And then once it starts to feel like it's getting quite brittle, we then put it into a garbage bag and then just shake it all, and it all just falls out naturally.
Sure.
Yeah, we have a big strainer that we use for all the chaff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good setup.
Yeah.
That's it.
Does anyone in the group tonight have used microgreens or started to try to grow them yourself, or bought some to eat?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I used to grow sprouts all the time.
Great.
So yeah, that's why I was asking, because it's you know, when I was had a business, like I used to have to serve the sprouts in the business. So you know, I had big quantities of seeds, and then, you know, then after that I had all these seeds and didn't know what to do with them, and I ended up putting them in the compost. So it was a bit of a waste.
What a shame. Okay,
Yeah.
so it was alfalfa or mung greens? Okay.
Fenugreek, alfalfa.
Fenugreek's terrific, isn't it?
mung,
Yeah.
Yeah, mung. What else did I do? Oh, lentils. Oh, well, lentils you can cook, so that wasn't so bad. So I think I kept them and just ate them. And but I constantly, because you grow the sprouts, you just, they tend to, if you're not sort of on top of it, they go off pretty quick.
They can do, that's right. Yeah.
And then you've got rotting sprouts.
And that's not nice. That's not a nice thing. So the hygiene's important. And we don't get rotting seeds because of the 2 watering styles that we use, the top watering and the wicking watering. So we avoid all that nasty rotting seed and seedling and sprout stuff, and it's not nice. So we've sprouted. You can sprout anything, any seed, and you can turn anything into a microgreen as well. So they're hand in hand. Yeah.
Right.
So chickpea sprouts are really nice.
Yes, I've tried chickpea sprouts. They're great. I love them.
Yeah, we've got a really nice crunch to them. We've got red clover that we use for ground cover in our gardening business, and we've sprouted red clover and had fantastic microgreens from them. They've got a real juiciness to them. Really nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know, I think the incentive to start growing microgreens is, number one, the space that it doesn't take up, right? So anybody can grow microgreens, and because the prices of food these days that are going through the roof, then this is a very cost-effective way to get your fresh veggies in and all the nutrition. And to me, it's like the emergency backup that you have for, you know, not being able to buy your fresh fruit and veg if you can't get a hold of it. So, you know, at least if everyone knew how to start to grow their own microgreens and had seeds of every kind, I think that's your grab and go bag, right, of fruit and veg. So for anyone who's been around the My Self-Reliance crowd for a little while, or anyone just starting out and says, look, I don't know where to start. Where do I start with all of this kind of getting self-reliance? I always start with the grab and go bag. That's your emergency 72-hour kit. And your microgreens, because this is like, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and the little packets of seeds, like I think even if you were to have a half a kilo of seeds, they're not going to take up that much space, and it's worth having in, you know, you don't want to be without it. So yeah, everyone gets started with it because it's super, super good for you.
Yep.
Yeah, Andrew's got a question about, do you want to ask your question, Andrew?
Yeah, just would it be possible to grow microgreens on the artificial light if you had
Sure.
to?
Yes, absolutely. So so our grow room's rigged with fluorescent tubes. So you need about 10 lumens or more so you don't have to have a lot of light, you just need some light, because the greens only grow for about 5 days under light. Then they start to turn into a seedling. So you only need the light to take them out of that sort of the post germination stage when they're in the dark and then they're all yellow, and then so fluoro light works really well for that. So over the spring, summer, and into autumn, we don't need lighting, but over winter, probably for about two months, we'd need it, particularly if they're overcast days, just to supplement the growth of the microgreens.
Just, Paul, what happens if you don't put them under that black cover when they're germinating?
They won't all. So if they're in the dark and they're moist and they're not too cold and not too hot, they will all germinate at the same time. If they germinate in the light, some won't, and it'll be uneven germination. So what you want is, you want every seed to germinate at the same time. So you're kind of forcing them to do that by the, so seeds normally find their way under the soil, and so in nature, and so you're trying to duplicate nature by, so if the moisture is right, the temperature's right, and it's relatively dark, they will all germinate. Yeah.
Very good. That's good. It's like you want your popcorn to pop all at the same time, not.
Yeah, nothing worse than chewing in a handful of popcorn and getting a couple.
And what can I just say, like when they've been sprouted and they're in the soil and they're starting, do you have to have direct sunlight? And does that have to be even? Because we've got a lot of trees at our place, and it's hard to get even sunlight.
Okay. So direct sunlight can be too hot for microgreens because they're kind of fragile-ish. In summer, in the height of summer, 42 degrees, you'll probably burn them. So if they're in the outside in the light, but in the shady part of the hottest part of the day, if they're shaded in the hottest part of the day, that would work really well for them. So as long as there's ambient light about, that is enough for them, to be honest. But in the winter, if they need ideally 10 to 12 hours of ambient light. And so a fluorescent tube around 10 lumens works really well. Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
Beautiful. Well, I just want to encourage everyone again to get along to your course. When's the next one coming up? That's Sunday.
It's going to be Sunday, 26th of March. Not this weekend, next weekend. 10 a.m. till 1 p.m.
So book into that to truecolororganics.com, or you can go to the website. Sorry.
Can I ask where it is, Paul?
In West Ryde.
Oh, that's not far.
Yeah, just down the road.
I live in Como.
Okay. Oh, I see. It's a bit further than just down the road then.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, Kelly.
Yeah,
No,
so
that's quite all right.
Great.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for coming on tonight. It was good to see everyone here, and So lovely to get that information and inspiration. So thanks again, Paul. And next week we have on Michael Schultz from Common Law, and he's going to be sharing with us some insights and some new things that they're working on over at the Common Law Factory over there. Everything that you need to know to stay free and to stay sovereign and stay in your power. So thanks for joining us tonight, and we shall see you all again this time next Tuesday.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Kelly. Nice to see everyone.
Paul, thanks, Kelly.
Nice to have you.
Okay.
See you soon.
Thanks, Kelly.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.